Have you ever reached a point in life, perhaps looking out at a view like this, and felt a shift deep within, a change in what feels truly important? Especially after 70, after decades poured into building families, nurturing careers, supporting partners, and managing the intricate dance of daily life. Have you felt a quiet yearning, not necessarily for something new, but perhaps for something simpler? More you? A space where your own breath is the loudest sound, a rhythm dictated by your own needs. This isn't a story about regret or isolation. Far from it. It's not about dismissing the beauty of partnership. It's about understanding a profound transition. It explores the often unspoken truth that for many navigating their later decades, choosing or finding oneself single can be less an ending and more a powerful, liberating beginning. A path toward deeper self-connection, renewed vitality, and a quiet, authentic happiness, sometimes more fulfilling than a relationship that has slowly become misaligned. We're going to explore 7 common currents that flow beneath the surface, revealing why embracing solo life after 70 can be not just acceptable, but truly enriching. Whether life has led you here through change, loss, or conscious choice, these insights might resonate deeply. You're about to discover how this chapter can unfold into a time of personal renaissance, marked by emotional equilibrium, restored energy, and a gentle, earned joy. Stay with us, because understanding these dynamics might illuminate your own journey in unexpected ways. Think of your emotional energy like a wellspring. Over 40, 50, even 60 years of partnership, you've generously drawn from it, adapting, adjusting, anticipating, smoothing edges, often putting another's needs or preferences alongside, or even before, your own. Even the healthiest relationships require this beautiful, intricate dance of give and take. But after decades, that wellspring, once seemingly bottomless, might naturally feel shallower. The energy required for constant negotiation, for navigating differing moods or desires simply isn't as readily available. Those small concessions, the it doesn't matter moments you readily offered in your youth, might now register with a subtle, surprising weight. They feel less like flexibility and more like effort. By your 70s, the emotional resilience that easily absorbed these ripples might have thinned. Daily adjustments require more conscious energy, and when that dynamic of constant adjustment is removed, there's often a profound sense of quiet relief. It's the simple yet radical freedom to decide your day, your meal, your pace, your quiet. Moments based solely on your own inner compass, without the complex calculus of another's expectations. This isn't about becoming self-absorbed, it's a natural recalibration, a reclaiming of personal space. Consider Sarah, 75. After her husband passed following 50 years together, she initially felt adrift. But slowly, she realized, I hadn't just been living with him, I'd been living around him. Making my own small choices now feels like rediscovering a forgotten language. That quiet reclaiming, the ability to simply be without constant adaptation, is a source of unexpected peace for many seniors navigating life solo. It's not bitterness about the past, it's recognizing the limits of your present energy and honoring your own need for ease. After 70, this self-awareness isn't selfish, it's essential. Prioritizing your own peace over perpetual accommodation isn't a withdrawal, it's a return to self. Your nervous system finds a new equilibrium. Sleep might deepen. A quiet smile might surface, unbidden. It's the feeling of alignment of living life on terms that finally feel entirely your own. And in this chapter, that might be the most precious gift of all. Aging often brings a finer tuning of our senses, including our emotional ones. We become perhaps more acutely aware of friction, of energies that don't quite align, even in subtle ways. The dynamic that felt like lively banter in your 40s might, in your 70s, feel like a persistent, low-grade static. Everyday habits or differing rhythms, the way the kitchen is kept, the volume of the TV, the conflicting sleep schedules, quirks once easily overlooked can start to feel like small, repeated disruptions to your inner peace. It's partly physiological. As we age, our stress response system may not bounce back as quickly. Emotional jolts, even minor ones, linger longer, take more energy to process. You find yourself craving not just quiet, but harmony, ease, not constant, low-level negotiation, a slightly sharp tone, an impatient sigh, a conversation repeatedly steered back to their concerns. These can land differently now, feeling less like momentary lapses and more like drains on your precious energy. It's rarely about the other person having changed drastically. It's often about your capacity, your internal landscape having shifted. Your reserves are different now, and sometimes the cumulative effect of these small daily frictions can feel like navigating a field of minor obstacles you no longer have. The energy or desire to constantly step around. This is why, for many after 70, solitude transforms from something feared into a welcome sanctuary. It feels peaceful, predictable, safe. George, 77, shared that after his amicable divorce, the silence in his home was initially jarring. But then, he said, I realized it wasn't empty silence. It was the absence of effort, the effort of constantly managing small tensions. He discovered he wasn't missing chatter. He was relieved to be free from the subtle, ongoing work of navigating differing frequencies. This experience is common. Later, life satisfaction often correlates with a greater appreciation for peaceful solitude. Decades of navigating noise, conflict, and the demands of others leave many yearning for respite. They discover silence isn't lack, it's restoration. So if you find the small, everyday interactions in a relationship feel more draining than uplifting, more like managing static than sharing warmth, it's not necessarily a failing of love. It might be your own system signaling its need for a gentler, less taxing environment, a need to simply live in peace rather than constantly working to create it. If this resonates, perhaps you're recognizing your own need for quiet. Let us know by commenting number 2 below. And a quick reminder, if you're finding value here, please consider subscribing and clicking the notification bell. Your engagement helps us reach others who might benefit from these conversations. Now, let's continue. Life, in its natural progression, brings changes. As we journey into our 70s and beyond, it's common for health to shift, for one partner's needs to increase, physically or emotionally. This is part of the human experience, but the often unspoken consequence is how the role of caregiver, even when undertaken with love and devotion, can subtly yet profoundly alter the very foundation of a partnership. What was once a balanced exchange can gradually tilt, shifting the dynamic from mutual support to one where one person is primarily managing, anticipating, and providing care. Consider Clara and David, married 49 years. When David's health declined, Clara lovingly took on more, managing appointments, medications, daily needs. It was an act of devotion. Yet months later, she confessed to feeling a quiet weariness, a subtle sigh escaping before each task. It wasn't a lack of love for David. It was a mourning for the version of herself that was simply his partner, not his primary support system. This shift from leaning on each other to one person primarily upholding the other creates a unique kind of emotional fatigue. And in later years, the reserves to bounce back from this constant output are often diminished. The question, when do I get tended to, might arise, even unspoken. And when the answer seems to be never, a quiet resentment can take root, often layered with guilt. This resentment isn't always directed at the partner needing care. Sometimes it's aimed at the situation itself, at the perceived helplessness, at the loss of one's own freedom and energy. You witness their vulnerability, and simultaneously you feel your own autonomy shrinking under the weight of responsibility. You feel guilty for these feelings, but the body keeps score. The exhaustion is real. Every added task becomes a quiet reminder of the life you used to share, the balance that's been lost, the part of you that feels perpetually on duty. Love may still be present, deeply so. But the sheer weight of the caregiving role, the expectations, the constant output without sufficient replenishment can overshadow the joy and connection that once defined the relationship. And in this context, the idea of being single, free from the immense pressure and guilt of this uneven dynamic, can start to feel like a path toward self-preservation, a necessary step to simply breathe again, even amidst the sadness of change. It explains why some separations in later life aren't born from anger, but from a profound need to reclaim one's own energy, recognizing that sometimes loving oneself means stepping back from a role that has become unsustainable. What keeps the spark alive in any relationship, across all ages? Often it's a shared curiosity, a mutual interest in exploring, whether it's new ideas, new places, new hobbies, or simply continuing to learn about each other and the world. It's the energy of discovery. But as the years pass, especially within the comfortable familiarity of a long-term relationship after 70, it's common for that shared sense of wonder to dim, or for individual paths of interest to diverge. The rhythm can settle into a routine that, while perhaps comfortable, lacks the invigorating pulse of novelty. The same chairs, the same conversations, the same meals, the same shows. The days can begin to blur into a predictable pattern. This isn't inherently bad, but it can lead to a gentle stagnation if neither partner actively brings fresh energy or new perspectives into the mix. The stillness, once peaceful, can start to feel stale, uninspired, because curiosity fuels connection. It's engagement. It's the "what if we tried?" or "have you thought about?" questions. And when those questions fade, even simple interactions can lose their vitality, feeling more like obligations than shared moments. The question about dinner gets the same tired response. The suggestion for an outing is met with comfortable inertia. Maybe later. The comfortable silence between you might start to feel less like ease and more like disconnection. A lack of shared forward momentum. Often this happens gradually, almost unnoticed. It can feel like this is just how things are now. But beneath the surface, this quiet resignation can breed a subtle tension. One partner might still feel a pull towards growth, learning, or new experiences, while the other has settled into a comfortable, unchanging rhythm. This mismatch, one person eager to explore, the other content with the familiar, can lead to a quiet internal resentment, not necessarily at the partner, but perhaps at the feeling of being held back or simply not seen in one's evolving interests. You might start asking yourself, are we still exploring life together or just coexisting? Or why do I feel like I have to shrink my world to fit theirs? Helen, 74, shared, "I wanted to take a pottery class. My husband just wanted to watch his usual programs. It wasn't a big deal, but I realized we weren't excited about the same things anymore, and that quiet difference made me feel strangely lonely, even sitting right beside him." This is why stepping into singleness after 70 can feel like reclaiming your own horizon. It's not about rejecting the partner. It's about honoring your own need to learn, grow, and engage with life in ways that feel authentic to you. Now, it's the freedom to say yes to your own curiosity again, to feel the world opening up instead. of gently closing in, and for some, that quiet personal renaissance becomes more vital, more life-affirming than maintaining a companionship that has lost its shared spark. If you've felt this divergence, this quiet fading of shared curiosity, let us know with the number 4 in the comments. And please, if these reflections are meaningful, consider supporting our channel by subscribing and enabling notifications. It helps us share these ideas further. Let's explore the next reason. Relationships, especially long ones, are complex tapestries woven with joy, compromise, and inevitably threads of disappointment or hurt. As the years go by, many couples, often prioritizing harmony or simply letting time pass, leave certain emotional wounds unaddressed. Old disagreements, perceived slights, unspoken sacrifices, they get smoothed over but not always truly healed. The challenge is, what remains unspoken doesn't simply vanish. It often sinks deeper, becoming part of the relationship's invisible undercurrent. Perhaps a career path was subtly discouraged years ago. Maybe financial support felt consistently one-sided. Perhaps years were spent shouldering the emotional labor or navigating betrayals, with a quiet internal agreement of, let's just move past it. But these unresolved issues, these unspoken emotional debts, don't dissolve with time. They can calcify. Later in life, particularly after 70, when the pace slows and there's more space for reflection, these old accounts often resurface, demanding attention, and they can become a quiet, pervasive source of resentment. You might find yourself noticing patterns of imbalance more acutely, recalling moments where appreciation felt absent, remembering times when apologies were never offered or received. Even if daily life seems peaceful, an internal tally might be running, a subtle, perhaps unconscious keeping of score. This isn't usually the loud, explosive resentment of younger arguments. It's often a slow, quiet withdrawal, a hesitation to fully engage, an increasing emotional distance, sometimes masked by politeness or routine. You might go through the motions, sharing meals, taking walks, saying goodnight. But inwardly, the connection feels strained, less soft, less trusting. The interactions can start to feel more functional than heartfelt. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as maintaining an emotional ledger. Over decades, the perceived debts and credits accumulate, and by 70, that ledger can feel overwhelmingly unbalanced. Without genuine acknowledgement, open communication, or mutual resolution, these lingering entries can poison even simple moments, turning potential connections sour. Arthur, 79, reflected, "For years, I just handled everything she needed without a word. Now when she expects it without even a nod, something tightens inside me. It's like realizing you've been quietly paying into an account that never acknowledges your deposits." This quiet build-up of unresolved history can erode even seemingly stable relationships in later life, because the things suppressed for the sake of peace eventually demand a reckoning in the quiet introspection of retirement. And if that reckoning doesn't happen constructively, it can create a pervasive sadness that overshadows the remaining time together. Throughout our lives, our sense of self is often deeply intertwined with our roles and responsibilities. Our careers, our identity as parents raising children, our function as providers or primary problem solvers, these define much of who we believe ourselves to be. But the landscape shifts significantly after 70. These external markers often fall away. Retirement arrives, children are long independent, health might necessitate a change in pace. We're often left facing a quieter, less defined version of life, prompting the profound question, without those roles, who am I now? This journey of redefinition unfolds differently for everyone. Some embrace it, rediscovering dormant passions. deepening friendships, or exploring spiritual paths. Others feel unmoored, struggling to find meaning outside the structures that previously defined them. And when two partners in a long-term relationship navigate this transition at different speeds, or in fundamentally different directions, it can create a significant, often silent friction. Imagine finding deep contentment in quiet routines, gardening, reading, while your partner feels restless, craving constant activity, travel, or external stimulation. Or perhaps you're the one eager to learn, to volunteer, to find new purpose, while your partner seems content with a predictable, unchanging daily rhythm. The result is often subtle yet deeply felt. A quiet judgment begins to form, perhaps not voiced, but present in sighs, in silences, in the growing awareness that your fundamental desires and ways of being are no longer fully aligned. You might wonder how you shared decades together, yet now feel so emotionally distant in your perspectives on this stage of life. The shared space feels warm, but the inner worlds diverge. You sit together, but your thoughts, your aspirations, inhabit different landscapes. Psychologists might call this a form of identity drift. It's not necessarily about love fading, it's about the two individuals evolving into different versions of themselves, perhaps at different rates, and struggling to truly see and understand the person the other has become. And this is where resentment can quietly bloom. You feel unseen, misunderstood in your own evolution. Your attempts to adapt, grow, or find meaning in this new chapter might feel unacknowledged, or even subtly resisted by a partner who isn't on the same page. Margaret, 75, shared, "I found incredible joy taking art classes after I retired. It felt like waking up, but when I tried to share my excitement with my husband, his disinterest felt loud. It wasn't about needing his approval, but realizing he didn't see me, the person I was becoming, anymore. This drift isn't always intentional or malicious. Sometimes a partner is grappling with their own adjustments, their own fears or losses, making it difficult to engage with yours. But regardless of intent, the resulting emotional disconnection can feel profound, like a form of quiet neglect, and the space once filled with shared understanding can slowly fill with resentment, born from feeling unseen in your own becoming. If you recognize this feeling of diverging identities, share a number 6 in the comments below. Your experience matters, and please continue supporting our community by subscribing and enabling notifications. Every interaction helps us grow. Let's look at our final point. Consider the countless, often invisible threads of effort that hold a shared life together, especially over many years. By the time you reach your 70s or 80s, there's likely a vast history of small, consistent actions performed for each other, things that have become so routine they're barely registered anymore. Perhaps it's always ensuring the medications are ready each morning, or managing the household finances quietly in the background. Maybe it's consistently remembering family birthdays, navigating social calendars, or offering those gentle nudges. Did you eat enough? Maybe rest for a bit. Let's take a shorter walk today. These aren't dramatic sacrifices. They are the quiet, steady hum of care. The challenge and the source of potential pain is that over time, these acts can shift from being appreciated gestures to simply being expected. And when something becomes an expectation, its performance often goes entirely unnoticed. You might not consciously track it, but a part of you feels the lack of acknowledgement. Until one day, performing a familiar task, making coffee just the way they like it, tidying up after them, you feel a sudden sharp pang. A small internal voice whispers, "If I stopped doing this, would anyone even notice?" This is the quiet erosion caused by unacknowledged effort. It's the emotional fatigue that sets in when acts born of love and care are no longer met with even a simple recognition. And should you ever mention the effort involved, the response might be a dismissive, "Well, Nobody asked you to do all that. That dismissal cuts deeply, precisely because the motivation wasn't obligation, it was connection, it was love. But even love requires acknowledgement to thrive. It needs to feel seen. Resentment in these later years often festers not from grand betrayals, but from this accumulation of tiny omissions, the missing thank you, the unseen labor, the assumed service, the lack of expressed gratitude. You can start to feel less like a cherished partner and more like essential but invisible support staff. And in quiet moments, the question lingers. When did my contributions become invisible? Walter, 80, shared, "She used to comment when I fixed the leaky faucet or tidied the garden. Little things. Now it's just assumed I'll do it. I stopped tending her favorite rose bush for a month once just to see. She never mentioned it. That's the quiet danger. When the oxygen of appreciation is withdrawn, acts of love can begin to feel like unacknowledged labor. And labor performed without recognition inevitably leaves an emotional bruise, a deficit that grows over time. The journey of love often transforms over decades, settling from passionate beginnings into comfortable, sometimes predictable routines. And within that comfort, if we're not mindful, the connection can slowly erode, not through overt conflict, but through the accumulation of unspoken needs, quiet disappointments, and a gradual drifting apart of identities or appreciation. If any part of this exploration has mirrored your own experience, please know you are far from alone. These complex feelings aren't a sign that love has failed, but often a signal that a core part of you, the part that needs to be seen, understood, and valued for who you are now, is calling for attention. This is one of the profound gifts of aging. While it presents challenges, it also strips away illusions and offers a powerful clarity. It brings a clearer vision of what truly nourishes your spirit. You begin to recognize patterns that no longer serve you and find the quiet courage to voice your truth. Whether you've shared half a century with someone or are navigating a relationship marked by growing emotional distance, it's never too late to seek change, to shift the energy. This might mean small acts of acknowledgement, initiating honest, though perhaps difficult conversations, or consciously letting go of old, draining roles and stepping into new ways of relating together, if possible. Healing can begin at any age, and if you've ever felt that deep sense of being unseen or misunderstood by your partner, perhaps it's an invitation not just to express your own evolution, but to gently inquire about theirs, to see the person they have become. Thank you for sharing this reflective time with us. We genuinely value your perspective. Please share in the comments one insight that struck you today, or how you might apply this understanding in your own life. Your experiences enrich this conversation for everyone. Don't hesitate to share. Knowing these videos resonate provides us with immense motivation and encouragement. If you found meaning in this discussion, please show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with others who might benefit. Your support is vital in helping us continue to create thoughtful content designed to inform and inspire. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to connecting with you again in our next video.